Here's the thing. We really should address, however, one of the most oppressive white men of all time.
Dude, I'm right
about
here.
The police, but you know, I was told by my daughter, apparently Chris Nolan has banned chairs on sets. People are not allowed to sit down on a set. Who does he think he is? Oh my God.
If you got time to lean, you got time to do a scene. That's what that is.
That's insane.
Does anybody care? Like, I don't know. I don't even care like whether I have a, like, look, here's the thing. I mean, this is a big story. Apparently people are like really upset with Chris Nolan about not giving people chairs. Trust me, the big stars, they have chairs in their trailers.
Yeah.
You know? There are no chairs in the trailer.
Well, there's no way the unions are gonna let that happen. I mean, just being an AD on set, if you didn't have chairs for the background, they would go to ACTRA and complain about set behavior. So they didn't get chairs, but they got a place to sit.
It's an interesting question, though, right? Because you can't be so rigid adhering to union protocols when the environment is so different now. Right? I mean,
I was going to say, like, what are we going to do now? Like, have you guys heard about what the rules are with filming and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. I sat through that seminar last week. Firstly, wouldn't you just love to see a non-union version of Inception?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Just how many boom mics are in shot?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many little people are going to be used in every dream sequence? Like how many, right?
Yeah.
Just picture Steve Buscemi's living in Oblivion and it will be that, right?
The rules are so Byzantine because it's like you have union versus non-union. Union, which they have a set of regulations, and non-union, there's no regulations, but then you also have guidelines from the governments, right? So the Ontario government will like, this is how you do it. But then it's also like, if you're outside the GTA right now, you can have these guidelines, but depending on where you are, there are these guidelines. So you have like all these different rules, and then you'll have a Christopher Nolan who make his own rules on top of all the other rules. No chairs. Forget white versus black. Yeah. It's chairs that are the problem.
Yeah. So the outline of the of the majority of the rules is literally just taking the extension of what is in place right now governmentally and extending it into the workforce. Like wherever you're seeing regulations for the workforce, they're just adapting that to screenplays and screen work. And this is going to adhere because this goes beyond union legislation. Union, non-union work still have to adhere to all of these rules. And so it's going to be things like, yeah, you got to have social distancing right the way along. There's going to be temperature checks all the way along. There's going to be actors and everyone else bringing their own lunches. There's going to be like way more sort of like isolation. Maybe you're doing your own makeup now. Because everything needs to be sterilized afterwards. Like there's so many different protocols right now that are going along. I think in listening to this seminar, I was like, wow, there are nail salons in Kingston that are looser than this. And, thankfully, because, we saw what happened in Kingston, didn't we?
This goes back to what I was saying about the what the fuck moment, right? And how we're in this what the fuck moment and people are just in a tizzy. Yeah, I said tizzy.
Okay.
Trying to figure out.
One question though, Lewis, which moment is the what the fuck moment?
Right.
At last count, there's at least 5 right now concurrently. It's crazy.
I meant the one that the industry cares about.
Okay.
Like, how are you going to do a love scene while being socially distanced?
Yeah,
that's one of the other things too. They were talking about like possibly quarantining both actors for 2 weeks and then doing love scenes.
So
it's things like that.
I was taking an acting class, and a lot of acting classes have sort of like transferred their classes to Zoom. And I get it. The acting teachers is just trying to like, how can I keep my business going in a sort of socially responsible way? But then for me, I'm like, I get it. But then what the fuck is the value of learning how to act with another person over Zoom? Because you're not going to do that. How many times do you get to perform with somebody over a computer?
Yeah, but hold on a second, though. We are not in a place where we know where the industry is going to move, right? Like maybe that is the new wave of stars and actors who can actually translate those emotions on Zoom or a Zoom-like platform. I mean,
I'm
not saying I'll suck at it.
I know that when I go shopping right now, I am doing a lot of eye acting. There is a lot. And then when I got sunglasses on, these cheekbones become very animated. These are my money makers right here.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question. I mean, you're all professionals. We've been in this industry for more than 2 decades. So do you think that that's viable? Do you think that there's going to be this sort of influx of projects where, I mean, I will say from a producer standpoint, there are all these restrictions for crew. The safest way and the cheapest way is to remove the crew entirely and do your movie over Zoom, do your television show over Zoom. Like, do you think this is going to be a new way of making art?
You know what I was going to say, and I know this is going to sound inappropriate, but I think that the porn industry has been dealing with this for years. The porn industry has already dealt with like doing blood tests, testing for chlamydia, testing for AIDS, quarantining yourself, making sure that you don't have other sex partners before you do your scene. And when you're on set, there are certain regulations they have about condoms and all that stuff. So, and I think
make sure the pipeline to Romania is open so you can feed in more women as they die.
I think that to be very honest, like there are a number of people who work in the porn industry right now who probably are like, well, we've been doing this for years. Like, there are certain things. We have small crews. They have very small crews, and so they, there are certain things that we're just going to have to do. We're going to have to do blood tests. We're going to have to, not blood tests, or maybe we'll have to do blood tests to see how many antibodies you have for COVID. And maybe we'll have to
this becomes, so then now we're going to have a situation where those people that protested the closing, right, of industries are now going to have an influx of supporters who have been wiped out, like who have been marginalized as far as the industry, like they no longer have a position or an occupation because of stripped down sets. So that's going to be a huge, and that's going to happen not only in our industry but across the board. So what happens if you don't have a minimum living wage in effect? What's going to be happening with all of these people that are basically sent to the margins?
Well, I'm an actor, so I don't care. I'll be fine. You need someone in front of the camera.
Andrew, there a few years ago, there was this thing that they were selling. They called it it was something like a FaceTime buddy or something like that, or FaceTime friend. And what it was something. It was a clamp that you put on the bottom, like the underneath side of your iPad, and it had a bracket. And in that bracket, you were able to fit a fleshlight. And that is the nearest I can think of now as to what the porn industry would be like over Zoom. That. Yeah.
Let me just think about that for a second.
Or in a long distance relationship.
I think, though, getting back to the point, though, that Andrew was so gracious as to us to the side. I think not only it's going to be interesting when you have people demanding the relaxation of these rules. You have more and more people dying and protesting that relaxing. You have people of color, especially Black folk and Native folk, saying, hey, stop killing us. Like, there's a potential for a clusterfuck. I mean, it's already a clusterfuck. I don't even know what you call what's coming.
No, it's bad. Yeah. It's and to the point of the going back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air argument. The reason that you're seeing the the people who, you know, become, you know, through hard work and grit, and are able to kind of, you know, get into the game themselves, and people of color who have been able to rise to a station along with, you know, their fellow white people in their own economic bracket. The reason they're shunned is because of the prejudice that remains within the downtrodden of the society, who you look at the large amount of the people who are impoverished is going to be, I'm not saying there aren't white people there, but I'm saying the vast majority are people of color. And so because of that, it comes in with a whole bunch of, oh, look at the lawlessness and that whole thing. But the second you rise up to the next level, suddenly your skin color kind of reminds everyone of what's down there. And that is the problem. Right. It's the color, you know, you would think in this capitalist society that green is the only color that matters, but it doesn't. Right.
But
so
you also have like, you also have classism in the Black community, where when I was coming up, poor whites were vilified in the Black bourgeois community and the Black middle class community. They were like it, and it was a constant theme. Oh my God, they're just so lazy, right? They're stupid. They can't compete. They should just go off somewhere, run off a cliff, and drown themselves in their own stupid sorrow. It was incredibly dismissive. So it's not. And there are a lot of bourgeois Black folk, and Andrew, you've seen this as well, when out in public, older Black folk looking at younger Black folk in hip hop gear.
Why you wear your pants around your ankles? Son.
Just the disgust and anger on the faces of older Black folk looking at younger Black folk expressing themselves through their own experience, right? Their own cultural experience.
Oh God, the day that when I walked into I came home with dreadlocks. My mother, she was like, Lord have mercy. Why you dread up your hair? Lord have mercy. You wanna think you smoke ganja? What the hell? And I'm like, Mom, I'm just trying to get girls, Mom. Leave me alone.
And if you had, at this point, if you're a young Jamaican dude and you walk into your Nigerian girlfriend's household, Negro, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when I had my dreadlocks, there was no problem at all. No one said
and you looked hot.
No one said shit.
You know, I heard that from someone, from white dreads, that said the early Picts before the Roman conquest had dreadlocks, and that is the culture that I am representing.
Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Sure.
Look, I will say we're in a time. I'm not sure if it's an unprecedented social change, but certainly it's the most social change, or the potential for it, that we've seen in quite a few decades. I mean, certainly. You know, I'm 42. I've never seen this much potential change in this amount of time, right? But I am worried about social cohesion moving forward, because I don't see the film industry being the same. I don't see race relations being the same. I don't see politics being the same. I don't see restaurants being the same. I just think that, like, all the rules of society have shifted, and I'm like, how does this not make an indelible impact on people? Like, how do you not fear people now for the rest of your life?